Well, here we are again, talking about another mass shooting in this country. Another one. This shooting, the Colorado Boulder shooting, comes just under a week, if I remember correctly, just about a week after the mass shooting in Atlanta, killing 8 people, 6 of them being women, if I remember correctly. And now we have a new shooting in Colorado where 10 people were killed, and even the first responding police officer as well. The suspect in the shooting is facing 10 counts of murder. The 21-year-old suspect in Monday's massacre in Colorado's supermarket, which left 10 dead, including a store manager and a police officer, faces 10 counts of murder in the first degree, police say. Ahmad, I don't know how to pronounce this name, I'm not gonna lie to you. Wait. Text to speech.
Ahmad Alawi Alyssa.
Ahmad Alawi Alyssa. Okay. In Denver, is accused of opening fire on Monday at the King Scooper store in the University of Boulder, killing people ranging from 20 to 65. I think they have names of the people who were killed. Denny Strong, Nevin Stancic, Ricky Olds, Trilonda. Here, I want to make sure that this one right.
Bart
Kawiak, Suzanne Fountain, my bad. Terry Leaker, and the Boulder police officer Eric Talley, Kevin Money, Lynn Murray, and Jody Waters. Like they said, ranging from 20 to 65. They're still looking for a motive. They do not know what the motive of the killing was. Alyssa, who was at some point shot in the leg on Monday, was booked Tuesday into the county jail for after being treated at the hospital, authorities said. Still, investigators believe there was only one perpetrator, they said. I promise that all of us here will work tirelessly to make sure that the killer is held accountable and fully accountable for what they did. Lots of people were describing the sort of panic that was going on. Apparently, there was a couple of confounding sort of ideas that people were saying, that he started shooting from inside of a vehicle, and he started shooting from outside the building originally, and then walked into the building. He walked in with a semi-automatic pistol style assault weapon. He walked in with a bulletproof vest. So he was looking to kill people and possibly get shot. He took all of that off and was walking backwards towards the police. I believe, if I'm correct, this is the 7th mass shooting in the country since 2021 hit. The 7th, and this is one of the worst ones, killing 10 people. Gun violence in America has always been extremely bad, but these sorts of mass shootings are only getting more common, and they're only getting more deadly as more people are find it in some way a good thing to go out and just start shooting a bunch of people, and then either shooting themselves or turning themselves in as some sort of retribution in some way against society or something. And I want to make sure we keep in mind the gun that he used. Okay, it was like an AR-15 style pistol is that he used. And what's interesting about that pistol actually is that he bought it 6 days before the rampage, before the killing. The news organizations reached out to his family, and they were asking what was the problems, like why do you think this would have happened. 24-year-old suspect arrested in the shooting rampage outside a Colorado grocery store, described by his family as antisocial and paranoid, and he had purchased an assault weapon just 6 days before police say he shot and killed 10 people. And the shooting came just 10 days after a judge blocked a ban on assault rifles passed by the Boulder City in 2018. We can get into that a little bit later. He also, like, after the shooting, he asked for his mom, and lots of his family members are speaking out and saying that this had nothing to do. One thing that lots of people are trying to do right now is spin this into some sort of like anti-immigrant, anti-brown people sort of thing, that this guy came into the country. His family immigrated from Syria, and they're trying to say that this is the reason why this shooting happened. No, lots of people come over from lots of places in this country, and they don't commit crimes anywhere near this. It's not just people bad from outside of America. We have enough shootings here already to prove that. His family described him as extremely antisocial. We don't know what was going through his head. Telling the publication he believes his brother was mentally ill. So one of the things that they're talking about is that his brother said this is not a political statement, it is mental illness. And they're saying that she was also hesitant to mention it, but say that Alyssa was also seen playing with a gun, and she said it looked like a machine gun. She wrote in a police affidavit, and he said that he became extremely upset. Now, they chronicled that this guy apparently was very heavily bullied when he was younger, extremely heavily bullied when he was younger. He was arrested for a fight over bullying when he was in high school. And they also said that back when he was in school, before he got into high school, he was extremely outgoing. He was extremely nice kid. But then all of a sudden, after he started getting bullied at school and started getting racist and Islamophobic remarks, he got bullied a lot, and then he became extremely antisocial. And then also started to get ideas like this, like people are hacking his phone and sending him more threats after that. So it seems like, now I don't want to do any armchair psychology, but from the way that the family characterized him, it seems like he had some sort of trauma after being bullied at school, and then went on to have this be turn in his head into this sort of like thing about him being stalked, him being hunted, people hacking into his phone and then sending him more threats or something along those lines. And that's just something that he wasn't able to let go. And then he just let it out on a lot of people. Now, mass shootings involve many problems in society: economic, mental health, drug, and also gun problems. Just the fact that people can get their hands on guns. I mean, if people couldn't get their hands on, let's be honest, if people couldn't get their hands on guns, mass shootings wouldn't happen. If like guns didn't exist, mass shootings just by definition wouldn't happen, right? Sure, you could have things like mass stabbings, and those are really bad, but stabbing someone is far less deadly than shooting someone, and it's far harder to stab as many people as you can shoot them indiscriminately. That's just a fact of the world. All right. And all of these problems need to be addressed succinctly and substantively. But all of those problems are completely rejected by Republicans and conservatives at large. And one of those problems specifically is gun violence and just guns in general. One horrible thing we have in America is the National Rifle Association. All right. The NRA that was founded years and years ago. Honestly, at this point, it's been around almost as long as the country has. For as much as some people can, for as long as people can imagine, the NRA has been around, making sure that people have as much possibility to engage in these mass shootings as possible. Actually, the NRA didn't care so much about this mass shooting. The second it happened, they tweeted out the Second Amendment, saying that we have the right to bear arms. That's what they said the second the shooting happened. They had it unlocked. They had the saved tweet, and they saw the shooting happen. They're like, oh shit, quick, send it quick before people forget that this is actually a really bad thing. Quickly. Gun violence is something that conservatives don't want to touch. They don't care about it. And when I say conservatives, mostly I mean elected Republicans. They don't care about it at all. Now, they pretend to care about it, but they give their thoughts and prayers. But as far as I know, thoughts and prayers don't stop shootings. They don't stop these shootings. They don't actually meaningfully affect these shootings. Every single time I see one of these shootings, they're saying thoughts and prayers, and all of a sudden I look down and I look back at the like news article, and it's not updated that all of these people magically came back from their thoughts and prayers. That doesn't happen. I'm sorry. That's not how the world works. You actually have to address these problems. You can't just say thoughts and prayers every single time and pretend like it's going to do something and then like moonwalk out of there before people start talking about the real solutions to these problems. The NRA has been working diligently to ensure that we can't make any progress on gun violence. So much in fact, that they had their hands in directly this shooting. Now, it's really, lots of conservatives say, all right, lots of conservatives talk and be like, well, what gun law would have saved these people specifically, huh? What could have done that? Well, actually, brother, Boulder, Colorado had an amazing idea. Remember earlier where we talked about how a judge struck down a law saying that it banned assault weapons in Boulder, right? Like we just talked about that, how they banned that, and a judge struck it down. Well, you know who pushed for that? The NRA. And they were just in time too, because if they were 4 days late, this guy wouldn't have been able to buy the exact gun that he used to kill people. NRA bragged about it, that it blocked a Boulder AR-15 ban just days before deadly shooting killed 10 people. Now, there's lots of blood on the NRA's hands, but this is one of the most direct one-to-one NRA's involvement in our country killed people stories that I think that I can remember off the top of my head. The organization bragged about its role in blocking the city's ban on AR-15s in just 6 days before the shooting. A Colorado judge gave a law-abiding citizen something to celebrate, and an NRA Institute for Legislative Action supported case. He ruled that the Boulder City ban on commonly owned rifles, AR-15s, and 10 plus magazines, 10 plus round magazines, preemptive by the state, and struck them down. The Boulder City Council in 2018 unanimously passed a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines after the majority Stoneman Douglas shooting in Parkland, Florida, according to the Denver Post, though it created a permit system to allow people who already own the weapons to keep them legally. This ban would have stopped this guy from buying the exact gun that he used to kill people. The exact gun he used to kill people. The NRA, they hate it when we push for any policy to make this world a safer place. This is the most concrete evidence we have for the NRA's actions killing people, and they brag about it. They don't care. They said it was very thoroughly and thoughtfully written, the judge's ruling taking away those guns. The Boulder shooting is the 7th mass shooting in many days. CNN reported last week 21-year-old was charged in a shooting rampage at 3 Atlanta spas. This one is the one that we talked about. The Boulder shooting was renewed a debate over AR-15s, which became illegal under the 1994 federal assault weapons ban that expired without renewal in 2014, and the AR-15 became the weapon of choice for mass shooters after the AR-15 style rifles were used in a quarter of the deadliest 115 mass shootings since 1999, accounting for 40% of the deaths and 69% of the injuries from such attacks, according to Axios. And Lauren Boebert, actually, if you remember Lauren Boebert, she is if I believe she's representing, I don't remember necessarily the district that she's representing, but she is from Colorado, and she says, prayers are with the shoppers, employees, and first responders and others affected with the Boulder shooting. May God be with us as we make sense of this senseless violence, and may we unify and not divide at this time. There is a massive divide, Boebert. I'm sorry. There's a huge divide, a massive divide. Boulder's city council tried to make its country, its citizens safer, and the NRA and people like Boebert, people like Donald Trump, people like Ted Cruz and Matt Gaetz, all of these people want to ensure that we have no recourse to make our people safer at all. The research is already down. Facts don't care about your feelings, dude. Okay. More guns means more crime. More guns means more shootings. That's just a fact, okay? Period. Now, you can sit here and say we can weigh having some guns and some problems. There are always going to be problems no matter what we do. But the rampant amount of gun violence that we have in this country is specifically because of the amount of guns and how easy it is to get a gun in this country and nothing else. I'm sorry. That's just it. Now, like I said, there are lots of things going to mass shootings, but the ability to get the weapons to do them in the first place leads to lots of people dying constantly. There was a really good article written. It's called the NRA Way of Life is Ruining Our Nation. The ease at which any random man with an inchoate grievance can pick up a gun and rapidly snuff out the lives of strangers to make himself feel powerful will remain unchecked. That's not because Americans oppose stricter gun laws. In fact, around 90% of Americans polled consistently support background checks for all gun sales, but when House Democrats introduced a bill earlier this month making background checks universal, all but 8 Republicans voted against it. And let's not forget, and forget about even turning this bill into law. The filibuster's continued existence makes it impossible to get past Republican obstruction in the Senate. The grim reality is that the entire nation is in the thrall to a minority of extremely insecure, mostly white men who, drunk on the decades of NRA fueled propaganda, have decided that having the ability to commit mass murder at a moment's notice is a crucial component of maintaining their manhood against the ever encroaching threats of degendered potato heads and lady video game players. Most of the men claim exoneration because they don't personally grab one of their many overpriced killing machines to lay waste at a grocery store or high school grotesquely. Some even use these mass shootings to indulge in public fantasies about how they would have totally stopped the active shooter, though somehow they never seem to actually get around to doing it. But ultimately, they've become complacent. In the face of mass murder, from decades of being told by right-wing media that there is a binary choice between preventing murder and watching Michelle Obama personally run off with her testicles in her handbag. Worse, the right has cultivated an overall suspicion of the very concept of concern over the lives of others at all. Every single time people come out and say, this is a massive problem, we have to do something about it, they brush it off and say, you're just trying to take away my guns. There is no other discussion to be had. And it's true that 90% of Americans support things like a universal background check, and a smaller portion, I think around 60%, support things like a universal assault weapons ban. Most people don't buy guns. Actually, lots of people talk about how America, like every single person has a gun. Lots of these people have a gun. Actually, gun sales have been going down. Less people have been buying guns, but more people have been buying more, but less people have been buying more guns. I think if I remember correctly from the data that I remember, around a third of Americans own guns. Just a third of Americans own guns. That's it. And that may even be lumped in with a third of Americans own guns or in a household with guns. People don't have guns that often. They just don't. The people that do lots of people that do are ones that have many guns, right? And they keep them as a massive like trophy for yourself. It's because you can't buy ammo. Aren't guns pretty expensive as well? Guns are pretty expensive as well. Yeah, guns are pretty expensive as well. Well, hey, listen, hey, if that's like a good thing about like the capitalism that we're experiencing now, that people have less spending money, so people have less money to go out and buy guns, which means, I mean, these shootings should get less. Common, but sadly, it's so easy to buy guns in so many states that you could just walk into a store and it's easier for you to buy a gun than it is to get a driver's license. Honestly, in some places, it may be even easier to get a gun than it is to buy alcohol for lots of people. Like, oh my gosh, really? And some background checks are laughably bad. Like, and there's no and for lots of states, they don't even have standardized background checks. It's just do fucking whatever. And it leads to lots of death. The NRA has their hands covered in blood with almost every single one of these mass shootings, but this one in particular, they had a specific motive in. Their actions 4 days before this killer bought his gun that the Boulder City Council banned led to the deaths of 10 people. They did it, all right? The rampant, disgusting gun culture did it. We are held hostage by the Republicans in the House and in the Senate. And it has to stop. I am tired. I am sick and tired of these gun debates. I am sick and tired about these what do we do? I'm sick and tired of lots of people on the right telling me that they care so much about gun violence, but when faced with all of the evidence that guns just make people less safe the more you're around them, they don't want to do what actually has to be done, which is making sure that guns are less available to the public. I'm not even arguing for taking all guns away. Just make them less available. They don't want to take a step in the right direction. They don't care. They don't care. The deaths don't matter to them. They look at what's happening, they tweet out thoughts and prayers, and they go back to not giving a shit about the people who lose their lives to senseless gun violence on a day-to-day basis, because they love their shooty bang bang toy, and they love the money they get from the NRA and the guns industry. They love it. They can't get enough of it. They love it. It tastes good, and they can't get enough. But I have had enough. And I think lots of the people in this country have had enough. It's time to enact real policy to lessen the amount of guns in the country. It just has to be done. And like I said, once again, lots of things go into shootings: poverty, mental health, where you live, what jobs you have, extracurricular activities, what friends you have around you. All of these things should be addressed, and not all of them can be addressed by the government just passing some policy. I'm sorry, lots of these things are extremely difficult to do, and you can't just wave your magic government wand and have a policy come down to completely fix this problem. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there actually has to be policy that comes down to do something. We have policy that we know works in reducing gun violence. Republicans stand in the way constantly. It's time to just brush them aside. I'm tired of the debate. I'm sick of it. We don't need to have it anymore. We just need to make sure that they're not in power and they're not allowed to obstruct, as people who actually care are able to do work to save people's lives. And still, I'm not someone who's anti-gun. What does that really mean? I still believe in the ability for you to own a gun. I think you should be, if you want it and you go through the subsequent amount of rules and regulations, that you should be able to get it. And I think that you're an average person with some caveats, put an asterisk on that, should be able to get a gun. I think that's a right. That's fine. All right. Balancing out the problems in society and gun ownership, I think that we can balance those problems out to make gun ownership not inherently bad. But the culture that we have around guns in this country, and not addressing real systemic problems here, and also the rampant ability for you to go into your local Walmart. Mind you, most gun sales, or at least the massive plurality of gun sales, happen through freaking Walmart. All right. When you're going to pick up some milk and eggs, you go get a Ruger, and then you go commit a mass shooting after you're done making your morning breakfast. I mean, come on. What's wrong with it? What's wrong? It's ridiculous. We know other countries are allowed can have higher gun rates without having the same amount of gun violence that we do. There's a problem, and I do still think a lot of that would be fixed by having less guns in the country. That's just true. It's time to actually get to work to make that happen. This is ridiculous. No more lives should be lost.